Good day everyone, I will present my FYP with title Comparative Life Cycle Assessment LCA of Biomass-Based and Coal-Based Activated Carbon Production. According to WHO, there are 2 billion of people do not have clean water supply and 91% of people live in substandard air environment. Those pollution will bring negative effects such as health issues as well as entail significant a country economy. Therefore, adsorption, one of the feasible methods to control water and air pollution, was used. Among the adsorbent, activated carbon is one of the powerful adsorbents used for water and air pollution control. However, activated carbon is made by non-renewable source of coal. Therefore, researchers found an alternative which is production of activated carbon from biomass. Biomass-based activated carbon is derived from renewable resources such as woody biomass and palm oil biomass. Biomass-based activated carbon is relatively cheaper than coal-based activated carbon and can be produced via pyrolysis or gasification process. Biomass-based activated carbon has comparable adsorption efficiency with base case coal activated carbon. While biomass-based activated carbon is produced from renewable resources, its environmental impact has not been comprehensively quantified. Thus far, Jiunn 2020 has conducted environmental assessment via life cycle assessment LCA on pyrolysis and hydrothermal production of biomass adsorbent and found that pyrolysis process have milder impact to environment. However, they did not consider the conversion of the biomass adsorbent into activated carbon, gasification process, and mining process of coal into their comparative life cycle study. Therefore, in this project, the environmental impact of both gasification and pyrolysis process will be studied to determine whether gasification or pyrolysis is the greener way to produce biomass-based activated carbon. The process will be compared with conventional base case of producing activated carbon from coal. There are two objectives in this project. First is to investigate the environmental impact associated with production of biomass activated carbon via gasification and pyrolysis of biomass using LCA. The second objective is to compare the environmental impact of biomass-based and base case coal activated carbon production. The scope of study have included LCA framework and process routes such as thermochemical conversion of biomass by pyrolysis and gasification, and the activation method such as chemical and physical activation of biochar to activated carbon. The scope of this study is from cradle to gate. The evaluation of environmental impact for base case coal activated carbon will start from mining of coal until activated carbon is produced. The evaluation of environmental impact of biomass-based activated carbon production will start from harvesting of the biomass until activated carbon is produced. Life cycle assessment LCA was used in this project. LCA is a tool for the analysis of the environmental burden of products at all stages in their life cycle. Generally, there are 4 phases in LCA: goal and scope definition, followed by inventory analysis, followed by impact assessment, and last, interpretation. In goal and scope definition, system boundary was set as cradle to gate analysis, and the byproduct of pyrolysis and gasification such as bio-oil and biogas were not within the system boundary. The functional unit is production of 1 kg of activated carbon. There were 5 process routes studied in system boundary. For route 1, which is base case coal activated carbon production via pyrolysis and physical activation. For route 2 to 5, which are biomass-based activated carbon production via pyrolysis and physical activation, chemical activation and pyrolysis, gasification and physical activation, chemical activation and gasification, respectively. For inventory analysis, the literature source of input and output data were used. All the input and output data was scaled based on the functional unit. There were three environmental impact indicators studied in this project, which are global warming potential (GWP), acidification potential (AP), and eutrophication potential (EP). Here is the formula to calculate the impact assessment for GWP, AP, and EP. The left-hand side table shows the pollutant and wearing factor for GWP, AP, and EP, where CH4, CO2, NOx, and SO2 were taken into consideration for calculation. For the right-hand side table, it shows the electricity to pollutant factor. In this project, we have assumed all the electricity is generated by coal, except for specific cases, such as harvesting stage using diesel oil. Interpretation is the last phase of LCA. In this phase, data analysis was performed and the processes were compared. With that, we are able to identify the hotspot and reason for it. Now I will present about results and discussion. The graph shows the result of GWP and AP of 5 different process routes. First route, base case core activated carbon, have the highest GWP and AP. This is because high electricity requirement in furnace and activation chamber due to high reaction temperature is required. The mining process of coal also releases CH4 and SO2, which contribute to GWP and AP respectively. Routes 2 and 3 show a comparable GWP and AP, but they are higher than routes 4 and 5. This is because pyrolysis is an endothermic reaction and it's operated at 800 degrees Celsius. Also, physical activation requires high temperature of 900 degrees Celsius. Therefore, substantial heat was required to be supplied to maintain the high temperature of the process. For route 4 and 5, they also show comparable GWP and AP. Gasification consumes less energy than pyrolysis because controlled amount of oxygen is supplied to gasifier to promote combustion. Last but not least, route 5 shows the lowest GWP and AP because chemical activation requires less energy consumption and lower reaction temperature of 80 degrees Celsius. This graph shows the EP of 5 different process routes. Route 1, which is base case core activated carbon, have the highest amount of EP among 5 routes. This is because consumption of electricity will release NOx, which contribute to EP. Pyrolysis and activation steps contribute most of the NOx because a lot of electricity is consumed. Therefore, routes 1 have the highest amount of EP and then followed by routes 2, routes 3, routes 4, and routes 5. For biomass-based activated carbon, they all have comparable EP. It was found that harvesting process contribute most of the NOx due to consumption large amount of diesel. Lastly, route 5 have the least EP due to less electricity is needed by chemical activation and gasification. This diagram shows the comparison of total pollutant emitted in 5 process routes. Route 2 contributed the highest GWP, AP, and EP due to energy-intensive process and consumed significant amount of electricity among biomass-based activated carbon. From the diagram, we can know that route 1, which is base case core activated carbon, emitted the most pollutant to the environment among 5 process routes. Base case core activated carbon emitted at approximately 8.6 CO2 equivalent kg AC, 0.237 kg SO2 equivalent kg AC, and 0.002 PO3 minus 4 equivalent kg AC, which were the highest among 5 routes. In overall, production of activated carbon by using biomass have milder environmental impact. Route 5 released the least pollutant to GWP, AP, and EP. Now I will present about my conclusion. In this project, 2 objectives has been successfully achieved. For objective 1, we found that production of biomass-based activated carbon via gasification process have milder impact toward environment compared to pyrolysis process. For Objective 2, it was found that biomass-based activated carbon have milder impact toward environment than base case coal activated carbon. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.